Hi, my name is McColl. I'm the Head of Consultancy for HaloPSA. We hire over 200 people across the world, supporting clients in all kinds of different regions, and this is my Duvet flip.
You failed your first project.
Yeah, and there is a reason for it, because there will be setbacks, but it's all about, bringing others up, recovering, bouncing back, and, making the most of it.
For 6 and a bit years, you've gone from a graduate failing your first project to managing a team of over 15.
The answer's always out there.
The answer's out there. What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
I think... Hi, my name is McColl. I'm the Head of Consultancy for HaloPSA. We hire over 200 people across the world, supporting clients in all kinds of different regions, and this is my Duvet flip. I've never met Jack before. It's a little bit unknown. I've seen the Paul Hamilton one, my boss, so I have a rough idea. Looking forward to it. Right, let's do this.
Ross, welcome to my duvet flip. How are we?
Thank you. Yeah, all good, thanks. How are you?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to hear about your career journey and the mission and the culture of Halo. But I want to start here. Your first job, where did it start? What did you do? How did you get into your first piece of work?
So, first with Halo or first prior?
First piece of work.
Yeah. So I would say, I can go all the way back to paper round, age 13, getting up crazy early to deliver papers for about £2 a round or something. But I feel like the reason I kind of mentioned that is a lot of the sort of character and resilience that I think have served me pretty well for Halo have come from that type of job. So started out with that, did some other sort of rough jobs of, knocking on doors, trying to raise money for charities, which is, as you can imagine, one of the options was door slam. So that was, you built up a little bit of resilience from that. And then, did a bit of work at Next, went to university, came out, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I studied economics, and then I applied to what was HaloPSA then, so the old branding, pre-Halo branding. Joined Halo, started out on the support team, 6 months in there, sort of decided I wanted to go into consultancy, and then, just worked my way through the ranks, got promoted to senior, then became head of consultancy, didn't have an IT background, but just sort of gradually picked it up as I went on. Some of the logical skills I think needed for an economics degree has served me pretty well, so yeah.
I wanna kind of break some of that down, because you've obviously gone from A to B to C, and a lot of people tuning in will be thinking about what's next, what should I do? What do you mean by a rough job? What is a rough job? Because I get what you're saying for the audience, and I believe that anyone who does a rough job gives them credibility when they're going for the job and the career they want. But what is a rough job?
Yeah.
And why should others take a rough job when they're starting out?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think to have not had those difficult situations, some of the more sort of humble jobs early on in your career, I just don't think you'd be as well placed to deal with situations when it does get rough in your, your cushy grad job or whatever it is. So I think just, when you're young, of course, you'll take anything, won't you? You want to get money in the bank. Yeah, exactly. Get some money in. But I actually think some of the skills learned on that, of resilience and just having a strong mindset, even when, you're tired, didn't sleep well, you're waking up at 6 a.m. to go and deliver papers before school at 13 years old. Stuff like that is, at the time, you're like, why am I doing this? This is terrible. But I think it really does help when you do then have a nice kind of comfortable structured job to then focus on, how can I improve and get the best of the job? Because the things like waking up in the morning, that's already covered. You've done that early on.
And why did you start early at 13 to do the paper round? Because I was the same. I started paper round at 13, so I know exactly.
Yeah, same job.
Like, a lot of individuals may say, I'll leave it, and they leave it and they kick the can down the road to get some work experience. Yeah. But for you, what was it that made you think, you know what, I want to get out there, I want to work, I want to earn some money? Like, what was the motivations for you?
I think for me, a part of it was probably my parents sort of just not giving me everything I wanted deliberately. And I'm glad they've done that now, because it's a valuable life lesson. But, I wanted a fancy TV, Xbox 360, all the latest games and all that. And that just wasn't feasible on, your little pocket money or whatever it was. So I had to go out and get that money and earn that for myself. And I'm actually really grateful my parents didn't give that to me, because I think it's kind of shaped who I am. I've carried on that hard work ethic from that age, because once you've done 13 paper rounds a week for £27, everything's great.
It is.
It does seem a little bit.
It is, especially in the winter.
Oh yeah, they're tough.
What does hard work mean to you? Because we hear it time and time again. Go into a workplace, work hard. But for you, like, what makes up hard work? Like, what does that look like in the grand scheme of things?
So I think you have to work hard, but you also have to be smart. I know it's the cliche, isn't it? Work smarter, not harder. But there's no good in just working, 15, 16-hour days, but not being productive within those. Within my team, so I manage a team of consultants, I would much rather, to be honest, someone works their work hours, but is very effective and hardworking throughout the day. I'm not a big fan of the sort of, I worked all day Sunday and things like that, because I'd rather you were just very dedicated and hardworking, but in a sustainable way, because I want you to be a consultant for a long time. You've spoken to Paul Hamilton. We've got a long-term growth plan. We want people to, enjoy Halo for a long time and stay working for us and not move on and switch jobs. So we try to create this environment that's really attractive for people. Just work hard during your hours if you can, if you have to do a little bit over, but in those hours, make the most of every minute.
And to make the most of every minute, what are some of the kind of tools and tips that you've picked up along the way to actually, because you can easily get unfocused, right? When you're starting out, it's all new, and you're like, what's going on? What's your tips to anyone to stay focused, stay productive, so they're not working on Sundays and they can enjoy their personal life and they can go home? What is your advice to them?
So the thing that the people that work crazy hours don't do, and I think they should do, is just ask for help and not be afraid to ask for help. It is a team game, ultimately. You've got a team of consultants, and there's bound to be someone within the team of, let's say, 15 for my team. Someone's going to be a little bit freer than you at some point, and there's no shame in asking for help when you need it, and that will come around again when they need help or you need help in the future. You can just exchange that and cooperate and work in a team. I think if you stay too isolated and work on a bit of an island to try and protect your reputation as, oh no, I never pass anything off, I think that's going to bite you in the long run. If you're going to burn out at 27, 28, much better to be good and sustainable for a longer period of time, in my opinion.
And how long was you in your career until you realised actually asking for help is a superpower? Yeah,
I actually never had shame in it. I was constantly badgering people for help, and I just thought, you get at least the first year free. I went in with that mindset of, joining that help desk and everything was so hard. And realistically, it's the same for new consultants that joined Halo. Everything is going to be hard. You don't know the industry, you don't know the product, you don't know how to present yourself. You're a graduate in most cases. Most of our people that come in are graduates. But you've just got to not be afraid of looking stupid, because you don't. You're a new employee, and I still see it even to this day. People in support, they will sit and try to work something out for an hour when there is absolutely no chance they would have worked it out. And a quick question, go and badger someone senior. Oh, it's over here. You'd never have found it. It's a table you wouldn't have heard of. It's named something ridiculous in SQL. Then you can move on to the next thing. And people are willing to help. We're kind of lucky, really. We've created an environment where people are happy to help others. It's not a sort of self-centered work culture. I suppose credit to Paul, really, for creating that environment. But we are all willing to help each other, and you'll very quickly be found out if you're not willing to help others, because it's a team game, as I say.
I love that. So, and I like what you said, your first year's free. Yeah. I think that's great advice, because if go into an organisation unshamed from asking questions, and remember your first year's free, so you can badger whoever you want. Yeah. And realise you are new in your first year. Yeah. So go and ask the questions. Yeah. Are you just saying go from having all the answers to all the questions in everything you do?
Yeah. definitely.
Because
No, I
that
think that's
helps you,
great.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Just don't be afraid. It will serve you better in the long run to, ask your question. And there might be, one in 20 people might be a bit like, shouldn't you know this? But who cares? Your personal progression has benefited. That is the main thing. If you're a long-term thinker and you want to progress and, make the most of your career, just do it. Just take it on the chin.
And what did you study at uni?
Economics at Nottingham Trent University.
And then you went into IT.
Yeah, I know. So the transition came about because a good friend of mine, he didn't do an industrial placement year. It's probably worth mentioning as well, actually. I did do a year in accounting, decided it wasn't for me. So I came out of university not knowing really what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to do accounting, just personally wasn't for me. And a good friend of mine didn't do the placement year, so he finished uni 1 year ahead of me. And he joined this company and he said, mate, you've got to try it. Net help desk, believe me, it's going to the moon. We're gonna smash it. And I looked at the product, and we've redone our interface, our front end, which is now the shiny Halo everyone knows and loves. But when I joined, that was not the interface. Don't know if you can edit in a picture of the difference between
them. Get one from the team.
We'll have to try and get a before after. But my mate, he's a good mate of mine, and he now runs the Australian office. He was convincing me. He was just like, trust me, we've got a really good team of people. Believe in the vision. It's going places. Just trust me. And I was looking at this old interface, and I was just thinking, I'm just not sure, But he eventually persuaded me. What helped persuade him as well, he quite quickly progressed financially. He got a pay rise quite early on, and there didn't seem to be those boundaries that in other companies there are. So I thought, okay, well, they'd near doubled his salary in a year, and I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty crazy.
That's huge, yeah.
Quite abnormal. So I just thought, what, I'll go to the interview, see how I get on. Met Paul, who you now know, of course. And yeah, I think just straight away, I got a feeling that it was quite a small, informal startup feel. But at the same time, I did think, this has some potential because of the people that I'm dealing with. So Paul, obviously very smart guy. There's another guy, Tom Petley. And I just got a vibe from them that they were just super ambitious. Speaking to people that are the type of people to run startups, you just think, wow, these people are really ambitious. They've got the vision. They see where they want to be.
You know what? You're totally right. When I met Paul, I get to meet a lot of people, a lot of senior people, very successful people. When I met Paul, he's very successful.
Yeah.
The company's doing amazing, but also he's quite humble.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And I just love that.
Yeah. So he's from right northern Scotland. I think he told you. And yeah, not at all come from money, but he's taken the bold decision to leave his, fairly comfortable consultancy role or accounting role, I think at EY or something like that. And yeah, decided to go fully into the software industry, based on, at the time, what looked like not visually like a modern product, to be honest. But yeah, he's gone fully into it and had the vision to do that and grow it. And now, this is where we are. So over 200 employees, over a bunch of different regions and country support. I think it's 70 countries now we've got Halo customers. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I want to talk a little bit about culture at Halo. I've heard from so many people, that's why I became an ambassador, because your culture's brilliant, you're on this mission, it just seems like such a lovely and kind place to be, but also you're a sports team. There feels like there's a sports team internally making things happen. In your own words, tell me a little bit about the culture. If I was on my first day walking through the Halo doors, what would I feel? How would I be? How would others be? What does it mean to you, the culture?
Yeah, it's a massively important part of our success, I would say. So yeah, we have a friendly environment. We have a hard-working environment. It's, again, a bit of a cliche, but work hard, play hard is kind of the mindset. But yeah, it's great because it's flexible. So we've got, flexible working hours. We've got a pool table, table tennis, a bar Halo, which is a lot of fun. But I think that's it. Everyone quite quickly realizes that it is just a nice and fun environment to work in. We want people to be motivated to come into the office. It is a company that's sort of 100% in office, which is a little bit odd, a little bit against the norms of tech. But I think it's great. And I'm glad that I'm part of that because, yeah, it's a positive, fun working environment. There's a lot of, it's kind of a young team. I think average age, I'd probably say is about 25. So very young team. We hire a lot of graduates. And yeah, it's just a great, positive working environment where we all look to, help out and train each other and bring each other up. There's great opportunities within the job as well, opportunities to travel for certain roles, consultants and things like that. So we get out and about. So yeah, it's just a really nice, positive place to come into. In terms of the process, we get people in, we do something like 30 training sessions dedicated to the various areas of the system. And then also when you go into those sort of more specialized roles like consultancy, you could get an extra 6 training sessions on different skills, sort of not just product specific, but how to manage a project, whether to go on site versus remote if they buy 16 hours, all these kind of weird edge cases. And then once you've done that training process, you move into support. So you're in support for usually, I'd say on average, about 6 months. And this is a little bit character building. You're getting phone calls about what could be anything with this new software you don't know. You've just finished your training and you're sort of quite new to it. But the way we do things is we do throw people in the deep end. It is, I know sink or swim sounds a bit ominous, but it kind of is, but in a good way. You're definitely supported through that process, but you are trusted very early on to manage your own calls, manage your own tickets, and quite quickly this gets you up to speed.
Which then goes into, hence why a number of people progress quite quickly, right?
Yes.
Because if we'll put you in the shallow end and we'll keep you there for a minute, and then you're always in the shallow end, you never go up. So that's why the growth of people's careers can grow, right?
100%, yeah. We can, if you're a high performer, this is the perfect company to come into because you will very quickly be given harder and harder work if you're successful at the earlier tasks. And it's not held against you if you fail. I failed my first project, to be honest, but it was just a little bit ahead of my level of expertise at the time. I was dealing with an IT manager who'd been in the industry for 20 years. I was a graduate who'd just been dealing with support issues. And it was just, it was overwhelming. And I thought, I can go 2 ways about this, let this just completely knock my confidence and, shy away from projects, or just go and take on another and make it right. Luckily, the second, went well and sort of just snowballed from there, gained a little bit of confidence and just went from there. But yeah, early exposure does lead to very quick progression for those that make the most of it, for sure.
I think you just said a really important word there, which just tells me about the culture, which is you failed your first project.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here in front of me openly saying you failed your first project.
Yeah.
That is great. That is the real definition of culture.
Yeah.
Because failure is not fatal.
No. Yeah. That's a really good point. And for sure, people make mistakes along the way. That is expected. And resilience, Paul talks about a lot, and there is a reason for it. It is the most vital skill to succeed at Halo because there will be setbacks, but it's all about, and I think that is part of the culture, bringing others up if they do have issues with any of their projects or whatever it might be, and then just recovering, bouncing back, and making the most of it.
How long have you been at the organisation?
So I joined in 2018, so 6 and a bit years. Yeah,
cool.
It's changed a lot.
For six and a bit years, you've gone from a graduate failing your first project to managing a team of over 15.
Correct. Yeah. So support.
So tell me that journey. So you tell me, in a nutshell, how you went from graduate coming in, thinking, what is this IT company, to today where you're leading a team, you're so passionate about the organisation, and you're driving the next era, aren't you? Really, in terms of culture, growth, opportunity.
But yeah, I think when I first came in, it was a very different company. So there was only 15 employees. So a lot of the things that we have today, I like to think I've helped contribute towards building it. So the split with HaloPSA, ITSM, things like that, we didn't actually have that before. Every customer was a net help desk customer. So we didn't differentiate between internal IT and IT companies. But of course, IT companies are charging for their services against, a user raising an issue internally. There's no financial component. So it definitely makes sense to split into those products and things. But I think I've, seen the journey of the transition and us growing into over 200 employee company. It's not been the smoothest, but I think in terms of my own personal progression, I started out in support, moved into consultancy, and there were only a handful of consultants at that time, as you can imagine. So
the company's 15 people.
15 people, right? So,
and that's your team, your own now, isn't it?
Now, yeah, exactly. Managing a team of 15. So we grew within the company, and I think I was, for a lot of it, one of the most experienced members of the team. I never set out to be any kind of leader or manager. I think our company ethos is that we don't want to bring people in purely to lead. We want the leaders to be the people that are just good at their job, pretty much, and can lead by example more than bossing people around and that kind of thing. So I don't actually, in terms of the management overhead, there isn't a crazy amount. I have one-to-ones with my team and things like that. But because of the amount of trust we put into people, it isn't a standard manager role where I'm sort of not doing any of the stuff. I'm still having calls with clients every single day. I'm still flying out to, Chicago at the moment all the time. But this is a necessary thing, I think, with Halo's culture. We can't start to have managers that aren't also doing. You'll see Paul is in the office every day. He's super hands-on. Tim Bowers, my boss, the CEO of HaloPSA, he's developing a lot of the time. So you've got a CEO that's so sort of hands-on. He's actually making code changes on the fly all the time. So it just shows we're quite efficient, I think, as an organization, because everyone is so well utilized and everyone is pulling in the same direction. And I think that works in our favor.
I can see that. I got a voice note from Paul this morning. He's driving to Sheffield, and he's just like, Jack, I just got time to kind of message you now. It's going to be brilliant today. But nothing seems too big.
Yeah.
Even though there's loads of kind of growth happening.
Yeah.
He feels like he has time for everyone.
Yeah, definitely feels like that. We've got a very much an open plan kind of office layout where I can walk up to Paul, I can walk up to Gianmarco, head of ITSM, I can walk up to head of PSA. And that's not just because I'm sort of one of the more senior members of the team. If you're in support, you'll see people within 1 month go and approach Paul and ask him a question, which I think a lot of organizations do have that hierarchy, and it feels a little bit more rigid. You can just ask anyone any question, and that has really worked in our favor. If there is anything you want to raise with anyone, you know that because of the culture, you can just raise it. So yeah, it's a nice environment to be in, I think.
What's been your Halo life lesson? Something that you didn't know before you joined Halo, and Halo's helped you learn something, unlearn something. What's one fundamental, whatever happens in your career, it's one thing that will always stick with you? Yeah,
I think the biggest memorable interaction I've had was with a guy called Daryl. He's our CTO. So I was just curious, because I thought he's the last line of escalation. Past him, there's no one. So if what happens when he has a question? And I thought, because he's a developer, CTO, quite hands-on with compiling code and things like that. But I just thought, what if he is absolutely stuck? Do we pay for consultants? Like, what do we do? Because there's no one past him. And I said, so what happens if you can't find the answer? And he just said, the answer's always out there. I thought, fair, okay. But that mindset of just, we don't need to pull in these people or anything. Just keep looking and be persistent, and that's his mindset. He can look until he finds the answer, and he knows the answer is out there. So
The
he
answer
just
is
keeps
out there.
looking. Yeah.
There you go.
So I just thought that stuck with me. I thought that's so interesting, and I thankfully do have a point of escalation still. But if I ever get into that position, the answer's out there.
The answer's out there. What's one reason why someone should join Halo tomorrow?
I think the early exposure to opportunities that you would be very lucky to get in any other company. So if you're into travel, and if you want to travel and experience new cultures and meet new people, in different places all over the world, that's a great, attractive thing. If you want to learn from some of the best developers in the world, then yeah, of course, the development team are some of the brightest minds in the industry, in the world, really. And yeah, I think a good example is, Tom, who we've come with today, very early on, part of our graduate scheme, and has been given a role that it wasn't really a thing before. So it's going around and generating a bit more excitement for the graduate scheme that we're running. And I imagine this has kind of come from Tom, but again, sort of no experience in that, but given the reins with another guy, Chris, just to go and make something that doesn't yet exist their own, which is massive. We don't say no to ideas. We'll always consider an idea, where I don't think in a large corporate you would necessarily get that freedom to make those kind of calls. So those two have sort of made their own thing.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. You can't go anywhere online without seeing Halo. It's fantastic. And then you say to them, okay, what's the size of the team? And it's two of them, and they're producing all this content, and it looks like the size of Google.
Yeah.
Making the content. It's brilliant, isn't it?
And with no experience prior, at least that I'm aware of. Fresh graduates.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Are you ready for my final question?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
So what gets me out of bed in the morning is the feeling, or the satisfying feeling, I should say, of getting someone from a previous tool that they are not excited to use and they almost feel a little bit tied into using, getting them from this state into, being a little bit excited about Halo, going through the process of onboarding, meeting them, getting to know them, and then getting them to the point where they are very excited by the new platform, their whole business is using it, and they can see a noticeable difference in their day-to-day output because of our tool and, I guess, mine or my team's onboarding experience. So that's what motivates me. It's really satisfying. And yeah, haven't stopped finding it kind of rewarding, I guess.
After 6.5 years?
Yeah. Keeps, that's my duvet flip, I guess.
I love it. Well, I just want to say thank you for joining us on the show. Thanks for being your authentic self for us. Cool. I know this is one of your first shows that you've ever done. I know it won't be the last, so thank you so much.
Nice one. Thanks a lot, Jack. Good to meet you.